we'll gather round, feel the love compound. Blue elephant is strong.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So you asked for it and I'm doing it. Today we are going to attempt to make some inlays using Let's Resin's newest silicone putty and stencils. Okay, so I just picked out a couple stencils. Now, the heart ones, I really like them. I think they're cute and they're on the smaller side so that we can test this out and see if it works. I was going to go big and do this big stencil I had, but I figured A, I probably wouldn't have enough putty for it, and B, even if I did, what if it doesn't work? I'm not trying to waste all the silicone putty that I have left, so I'm just going to cut these just to make it a little bit easier on me, and so I don't have so much wasted space where I'm going to have to put the silicone putty. It's just going to be a lot of waste doing it as a full sheet, so I'm just going to cut these up into the 9 little squares. I don't know if I'm going to use them all at this point or not. This is the first time I'm trying this, so I'm just going to take you guys along with me. All right, so the silicone putty, if you did not see my other videos featuring it, it is a 1-to-1 ratio by weight. So you're just gonna measure out part A, part B, get the weight exactly spot on, and then hand mix these together. It is a super soft silicone, very, very easy to work with, and I really enjoy using it. And it mixes really nice, and when it's mixed together, it's all just one solid color of yellow. You won't see any streaks of white in there, so you know that it's mixed properly. Now, you have a 5-minute work time. Don't do what I did. I, you've heard the term go big or go home. I went big. It's not the best idea when you only have a 5-minute work time, because I found by the time I was done fooling around with the second one, it was starting to kind of not get hard, but not be as pliable as what I need it to be for this. And since I have no idea what I'm doing, I'm just going to kind of break it off in pieces and flatten it somewhat out with my fingers, and then take my dotting tool and kind of push around the edges to make that the part where the actual like stencil is that you would paint or mark through or whatever, have that kind of pop out of the other end. Now, I have learned a lot in doing this. First, work in very small batches, don't use too much. Second, think before you do, don't just do. I use parchment paper underneath to kind of put a barrier between my silicone mat and this, because I wasn't sure if it was going to stick. I don't necessarily know if parchment paper is the way to go. Like, it wasn't horrible and it came off, but I did have to fight it to get it off, if that makes sense. Like, after it dried, even while it was still like soft and pliable working with it, I still had to fight to get it to come off. So there may be a better option than using parchment paper. That's number one. Number two, roll it thinner than what I did. Get yourself one of the acrylic, like, kind of like rolling pin type deals. I figured it out by this point, but at this point I didn't have my thing, so I'm just using a dotting tool that I use when I trace it on my carbon paper to kind of smooth it out some. Get your acrylic roller that you would use for your clays and use that and make it really thin. I made it too thick and it was lumpy and bumpy. So even when I put the stencil on and pushed it through, the amount that kind of popped up was uneven, which I mean, may or may not be an issue. We're going to have to wait till I try to find out. I'm really not sure at this point, but it would be much, much better if there weren't the lumps and bumps and imperfections that I did get, because we know that using your resin is going to pick up anything, right? It's just like silicone. Silicone's going to pick up any kind of mishaps, anything like that. It's going to pick it up. Well, the resin is going to be the same way. So every lump and bump that I have in this that isn't smooth, or me shoving my dotting tool into the putty trying to push down the actual like little plastic bits of the stencil, it's all gonna pick up when I put it in resin. Now, can we work around that? Possibly, but you don't wanna have to do it and have to work around it, you know? You want it to be as perfect as possible. Now, can you do this with liquid silicone? I kind of sort of tried, but the silicone that I was using wasn't one that I loved at the time. Have I tried it with the stuff that I do like? No, I have not. I think that it can be done. I do think that it can be done, which may be a better alternative to this. But if you're in a bind and you want to do something quick, this is another route to go. Or maybe you just don't want to work with silicone because whatever, like the liquid silicone, and this is what you have. I just want to see if it'll work. So that's what we're going to do. Again, I would make it much, much thinner than I did. Get yourself a rolling pin and do it that way to thin it out, even it out, all that good stuff. We know inlays are supposed to be on the thinner side, not big, chunky chunks of stuff. But like I said, this was kind of an experiment to see what will work, what won't work. I didn't really think it through 100% of the way. Now, this is the next day. It only takes 15 or 20 minutes to cure. I couldn't get back to it, so this is the next day. And the stencils come off of it, no problems whatsoever. I mean, they come off beautifully, so that's not going to be an issue. It cured up nice and great. Now you can see where I'm struggling somewhat to get the parchment paper off of it. The only one that I had issues with that I could not get all of it was the sunflower that I did. The little hearts, I was able to get it all, but you can see how chunky these are. So, and not just chunky, but how uneven the amount of squish that came up through the holes turned out to be. So, I don't know. Is it going to work? I'm not entirely sure, but we're going to find out because we're going to try them. Now, the one thing that I did do, and I don't think I did it on camera, is after I get all of these off of the parchment paper, I'm gonna go around the edges and clean it up some. I don't need all of this excess in the resin to, I just don't. So I'm gonna cut it much closer to the actual image itself. Try and do as straight a line as possible, and we're gonna see how that turns out. And then we're gonna cast this in some resin. Now, you can see here, like I'm really, really struggling to kind of get this off all in one piece. And I was worried that I was pulling it and I was gonna end up tearing the actual inlay itself. Now, it did not tear, and honestly, I didn't try to see if I could tear it. I'm not sure because I am very, very new to working with silicone putty. If you have it super thin, if it will tear. But I would imagine it would be no different than doing a normal inlay with your liquid silicone. You just have to be careful with it, right? So, I mean, there's that. Okay, so this is done. We've got it. They did make molds. I mean, we did get inlays out of them. Now let's see if they're actually going to work. I do like the sunflower. I just wish that I had a thought of things a little bit better. So I just got, we're just gonna practice. I just got two of my square coaster molds and mixed up a little bit of Let's Resin's epoxy resin. I'm gonna heat it up really well. I'm only putting a little bit in. We're gonna do a back layer. Now, here's the other issue with them being so chunky and the unevenness of it is that you don't want it to touch the bottom of the mold, right? Because you want to make sure that it's kind of floating on top of your resin and it's not sinking all the way down. Now, I did not have a problem with it floating. I probably, hindsight, should have added a little bit more clear to it, but I wasn't, again, necessarily taking into consideration the fact that some of those pieces that squished out were much deeper than the rest. So that is something that I should have thought of, but I didn't. But it's fine. It'll be fine. Heated up the resin really well. Went around with my dotting tool around those 90-degree edges just to make sure that there's no bubbles set there. And then I did take my time to go over each inlay with some resin because it's very detailed and I wanted to make sure that no bubbles were going to get trapped there before I flipped it upside down and set it in. And then after I'm done doing this, we're just going to wait the 24 hours and see what we get. Hopefully it works and I don't have any issues. I don't know. We're gonna see. I really haven't done too much with inlays before, so this is kind of on the newer side to me too. I mean, I have made some, I just haven't done a whole lot with them. And I'm trying to make it remember which way I put the hearts facing, so we'll see if I even did that right because as soon as I plopped it down, I forgot in which order I was doing it in. So yeah, there's that. But it's fine. It'll be fine. Okay. Everything's done. Everything's in. I coated it really well on the inlay itself. Now it's time to wait. Okay. 24 hours later, now's the moment of truth. Did these work? And I'm going to tell you right here, I got real scared real fast. I couldn't get that one out. I eventually got it. It's just I forgot. You kind of gotta sometimes work with them a little bit because the resin rose up on the side, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is stuck." And I've just a video that's gonna get scrapped. But it's fine. It's okay. I just panicked a little bit. Now, the one thing that did happen, and I don't know if it's something I did wrong I'm not sure is there is a little bit on this one that I'm showing you where the actual silicone came off and it got stuck in the resin. So I don't know if there was like an imperfection in that part of the silicone and I didn't catch it or what, but because it was like in the resin, if that makes sense. Like the resin had gone in there and somehow come up and over it or something. I actually had to dig it in the resin from inside of it to get it out. So that's just what I'm doing right now with my tweezers is I'm just pulling out those bits of silicone because even though this isn't like some piece that I'm going to go put somewhere, like I don't want it gross looking either, you know? Now I'm just giving it a wipe down on all of just the whole thing, just with some alcohol because I noticed that I was getting fingerprints on it and I don't want that to be on my finished piece. So, a good wipe down with alcohol, let it dry, and then we're going to move on to the next step. Now, what I decided that since we've got hearts going on, I'm going to do kind of like a pink and purple sort of mix. And I want to highlight the areas where the actual like heart, those pieces that squished out, I want to do that with glitter. So I don't want to take the time to mix up resin to do it. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to take a little bit of my gloss varnish, a little bit of glitter, mix it together, and then I'm doing two different shades of pink, two different shades of purple, and I'm just going to go in with my silicone tool and put the glitter gloss varnish mixture inside of those areas, making sure that I get 100% coverage in there. And we're going to let this dry. Now, I do let this dry. I let it dry overnight because by the time I was done doing it, that was it. And excuse my dog, she's freaking out about something. But you do, depending on how much you put in, and I did pack it in certain areas, especially where it was deeper so that it covered the entirety of that little spot. You want to give it several hours to dry just to make sure that it is completely dry and you're not getting any moisture in your resin. So as I kind of go through this process, I'm going to bounce off here for a second and I'll be back when we're ready to do the next step.
Glittery hearts in the night sky, pink and purple twinkles fly. Love's a river flowing free. Catch the stars and dance with me. City lights in neon hue reflect the colors of me and you. Together we shine so bright, burning love like a beacon light. Glittery hearts we can't contain, shimmering in joy and pain. Pink and purple love so bold, twinkling stories yellow hearts with a gentle beat. Hearts collide when our eyes meet. In this mood, no need to hide. Shimmering souls side by side. Hand in hand, we'll chase dreams. Love is more than what it seems. Glittery hearts we can't contain. Shimmering in joy and pain. Pink and purple, love so bold. Twinkling stories yet untold. Glittery hearts we can't contain. Shimmering in joy and pain. Pink and purple, love so bold. Twinkling stories yet untold. Glittery hearts we can't contain. Shimmering in joy and pain. Pink and purple, love so bold. Twinkling stories yet untold.
Okay, I'm back. So I'm finishing up the last little bit of getting this glitter in. And then, like I said, we're going to let this dry for a full 24 just to make sure that there's no moisture in it whatsoever. So here we are 24 hours later. Now I decided that I wasn't loving the depth of kind of like the square around it. So I thought that, and I could have poured epoxy behind it, but I didn't want to wait another couple of days to have this done. So I decided that UV resin was the way I wanted to go. So I went ahead and just put a little bit of Let's Resin's UV resin down, and I'm just using my dotting tool to kind of work it all in, make sure that there's no air bubbles, that it gets in there completely, and just kind of fill in a little bit of that kind of hole that we have. And I'm hoping that it works. I'm not 100% sure. I've never done this before, so we're going to find out. Now, I did realize on this one that I should have just done it one at a time, because as you can see right about here, it is glooping, and honestly, at this point is becoming like snot, because even though it wasn't a bright day outside, I mean, there is a window on the other side of my desk, and I've never had this issue before. It started curing. So I scooped it all out. I'm just going to cure that little bit that's in there. And then I'm going to take it now one square at a time, work it, hit it with the heat gun to pop any bubbles, and then start working on the other side. This way, if that one side starts to cure, I know it's already ready to go, and I don't have to worry about it being gloopy and globby and all of that stuff and not how I want it done up. I did go ahead and do a second layer too, just to fill it up a little bit more. Like, these were really, really deep because of the thickness of the inlay. So did the second coat. Now what I want to do is I want a little bit of that mica powder behind it. Now I decided that for the purple glitter, I'm going with the Let's Resin, and I'm doing pink and purple. I'll get you the exact colors. I don't have them sitting in front of me right now that I used. And then for the pink glitter, I'm going to do purple. Now, all I'm doing is I'm just doing very thin layers since it is mica. I do want it to be opaque, but because it's UV resin, I need to do thin layers so that it cures. So I'm going to do two layers of this. I'm taking my craft stick and kind of outlining the square that is already there and putting the color behind there. I want to do something completely different with the rest of it. So I just kind of want this to accent those hearts just a little bit more and make them stand out just a little bit more than what they already are going to, right? So I'm going over each one just in that square that I was, doing the same with the clear UV resin. That's what I'm going to do with the colors behind it. I'm going to pop it in underneath my Let's Resin Dual Light for 2 minutes, work on the other one, and then flip flop them back and forth, doing the first coat and the second coat. And then after that is all said and done and it's all nice and hard, then we're going to do some epoxy behind it to finish these guys off. So as I go through just the rest of this, I'm going to bounce off again. I've kind of already explained what it is I'm doing. Just be sure that if you are working with opaque colors like mica powders in your UV resin, you do very, very thin coats and just build it up as you go, curing in between so that you don't end up with uncured resin in there because that will be issues later on down the road. And I am hitting it with a heat gun just to pop any bubbles from me mixing it and all of that good stuff. And then I am holding it up to the light just to kind of see what the opaqueness is in between each layer so I know if I need to do another one or if the two that I did is enough. This way I'm seeing it from the other side, if that makes sense, and what I can see through it. Because I do want to make sure it's completely covered and then I'm not missing any spots that I think I'm getting because it's up against the the mat on my table and you can't see through it. Okay, I will be back when we're done with this. That was the fastest me being gone ever, right? I didn't realize that I am done with this. So I'm just gonna finish here and then we're gonna move on to the next step here in about five, four, three, two, now. Okay. Mixed up some more Let's Resin epoxy resin. Now I am getting two of my disposable cups because we're going to add some glitter to this. So what I want to do is I picked out two glitters I want to use. And then I also have some white iridescent hearts that I thought would look cute in there. And we're going white mica because why not? I do not want to see the ugliness that is going to be the back of just these square blobs of color. So I do want to make sure that they are covered, so I need enough white mica for that, but I also don't want it to be just solid white. I want to add some glitter to it. So for my glitter, I am using a Recollections. It's a chunky glitter mix. It's a purple teal shift, which I thought would be cool. And then there is one that April from Dragons and Dresses Craftstorium gave me last year at some point. And I think it's called cherry blossom mix or something like that. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous pink and white kind of iridescent glitter. It's absolutely beautiful. It's not fine. It's kind of like a medium to fine mixture. Gorgeous. I mean, I just think it's beautiful. It's one of my favorite ones. And look at that. It's so pretty. Just so pretty. So we're going to go in with that. It has like pinks and greens and your white iridescent. Just absolutely stunning. And then this one. Now, I did put the little white iridescent hearts in each one just to kind of pull them together a little bit more. And then what I'm going to do is I'm taking my glitter mixture and I am going to just haphazardly throw some in there. I don't want it all glitter necessarily. I don't want I want it a nice mix of the glitter and the white. Now, it's going to do whatever it does, so we're just going to wait and see, and hopefully the clear that is in I know it's not like straight clear by itself, but there is clear resin in there because of what I mixed the glitter in. So hopefully that'll kind of help break up the white mica some. And I don't know, but we'll see. So now I'm going in with my white and I I didn't necessarily have more white than the glitter. I think I had more glitter mixture than the white that ended up going into both, but I did make sure that it is over top of those squares of color because I really don't want those to show. Scraping it out, and then I'm going to go back in here in a minute and I'm going to add some more of my colored mixture, but first I want to hit it really well with my heat gun just to kind of get the the resin kind of flowing and moving a little bit. And to pop any bubbles, I'm going to go around it with my dotting tool around all those 90-degree edges. And then I'm also going to take it and kind of just wipe it a little bit here and there in the middle to kind of make sure that that white resin is getting pushed down and it's just, I don't know, maybe I'll get a design out of it, maybe I won't. We're about to find out. So 24 hours later, and here we are. Now is the moment of truth. Did these work? Are they going to look good? Or did I completely botch this? Are you guys ready? All right, here we go. Okay, so I didn't necessarily get the colors that I wanted with the white and the glitter, but I'm not mad about it. I think it's pretty. Can you see that some are deeper than others as far as the squishy bits that came out of the with the inlays? Yes, you can. However, I think all in all, it worked. They turned out pretty okay. I'm not super mad about them. I do think that they need some more work for sure, but I think that it for sure can be done. Anyway, that's a wrap on this one, guys. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. I will catch you on Saturday in the next one. Love ya. Bye.
Every comment right, you lift me to new heights. Your support, it's clear, gives me reason to